the more I looked into nicotine, the more I realized that it's not even like that crazy, right? So it feels like it's a drug that's like used everywhere and everything, but it's really just the tobacco plant is part of the Solanaceae family of vegetables. I definitely butchered that, or family of plants rather, which also is known as nightshade. And you might be familiar with other nightshade plants like potatoes, eggplants, green peppers, cauliflower, tomatoes. Those are all nightshades in their same family as tobacco, and they
Wow.
also contain nicotine. Little known fact. Do you know that?
No, I had no idea. So that's actually crazy. Is it just in
Yeah,
significantly smaller quantities, or what's the
definitely
deal?
significantly smaller quantities. But that's kind of what got me thinking, okay, like if someone's actually trying to microdose nicotine, the best way to do it is to just eat your fucking nightshade vegetables. Just literally just eat your vegetables.
This is Modern Day Hippie. We are your homies who've done nearly every drug under the sun. Over 600 psychedelic trips and nearly every kind of bender you can possibly imagine have armed us with a universe of knowledge. I'm Yuki, and with my co-host Reggie, we talk about how we do drugs in a responsible, safe, and fun way to improve our lives. Before we dive in, and so we don't get sued, a quick legal disclaimer.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Our goal is to educate and inform others about the realities of substance use in an engaging and entertaining format. We share these experiences so you can learn from them without trying them yourself. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to attempt to recreate anything found in this episode or in any of our other content. We are not confessing to any acts stated in this podcast. The content in this episode should not be treated as factual or real in any way.
With that, we welcome you through our portal and hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, hippies? Hope you're having a vibey day so far. In the studio here with our boy Reggie. Man, what you got in store for us today? What you got cooking?
Man, so I was actually just scrolling through my phone yesterday and I saw this news article about microdosing nicotine. And I'm like, what? Like, that's a thing now? Like, isn't all nicotine usage kind of like microdosing nicotine? So I kind of like clicked through the article. I started reading up on it. And it was pretty interesting because nicotine gets a bad rap for good reason, in my opinion, but we'll get into that. So the most harmful aspects of nicotine usually are associated with the way that it's ingested. So like smoking, vaping, like any of those Zyn pouches, those nicotine pouches, like they all have really bad effects
Right.
on your lungs, your blood, your heart, etc. I mean, like you guys don't need me to tell you all the different things that can fuck you up from like even just smoking alone. But because of that, I think a lot of people, when they see like an article like the one I saw about like the benefits of nicotine if you ingest it differently, is, you know, it can kind of give this false sense of security in the substance, thinking, hey, maybe there are benefits. And I just kind of want to talk about today a little bit. So I did a bunch of research, and based on my research, I found that nicotine itself is not carcinogenic, which honestly was a bit surprising to me. However, there is some research that suggests that prolonged use can lead to DNA damage, which can then increase the risk of cancer. And nicotine itself can promote cancer like spreading if you already have cancer. So that doesn't sound good to me.
Yeah, no. So I guess it's like not carcinogenic, but it could still lead to things that then cause cancer. So it's like instead of being first order cancer causing, it's second order potentially.
Right. And yeah, and like let's be honest, like these days it feels like everything causes cancer, right? It's like, you know, those like California labels or whatever you see on everything. So let's put that argument aside for a second. Let's say, okay, nicotine does not cause cancer by itself. Let's say that. Even then, the pros don't seem to outweigh the cons for me. So a lot of the benefits that people are perpetuating for nicotine usage, especially if you're able to consume it without smoking or something, is that it does increase your dopamine, right? So like you're going to feel good whenever you smoke it. And short term, it's proven that it can make you feel sharper, increase your short term memory and your reaction time. Like these are known things. People often use nicotine for those reasons. But to me, that just sounds like very similar to like meth, dude. Like I think meth is just like, you know, like straight up meth is the same thing, just like on like a much like higher scale, obviously. But I promise you, if you smoke meth, you will get increased reaction time and like increased performance in a lot of different ways, cognitive performance and everything. But it's not the short-term effects that, you know, people worry about with meth, or in this case nicotine. It's that long-term effect. And the big problem is that with nicotine, and obviously like the comparison to meth here being like the extreme example, you're going to become dependent on it, and then that rewires your brain. And that's just like, why would you want to be dependent on something else, right?
Yeah,
So then
no, I mean, it's definitely an insidious addiction. Like, I mean, so many people from our generation have gotten hooked on vapes, and none of us really smoked cigarettes before, and it's kind of a sad thing to see. I mean, it definitely is a sad thing to see. So,
dude, it's
one of
super
those things
sad.
that'll sneak up on you.
It's super sad. And like we can do a whole episode on like what those industries are doing to propagate that and like hook people and make money and shit. But that's not even what this is about right now. I just kind of wanted to dismantle some of the arguments that I've seen around the benefits of nicotine, because I mean, like, there are benefits, the short-term benefits, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is it's not worth it. Another argument that is thrown around is that nicotine has neuroprotective properties. So it can protect against Parkinson's disease and those diseases that you can get in the brain.
Oh, wow.
But that's countered by studies showing long-term effects of cognitive decline from nicotine use. And the thing that really got me is that the more I looked into nicotine, the more I realized that it's not even like that crazy, right? So like it feels like it's a drug that's like used everywhere and everything, but it's really just like the tobacco plant, right? Most of it comes from tobacco, right? The tobacco plant is part of the Solanaceae family of vegetables. I definitely butchered that, or family of plants rather, which also is known as nightshade. And you might be familiar with other nightshade plants like potatoes, eggplants, green peppers, cauliflower, tomatoes. Those are all nightshades in their same family as tobacco, and they also contain nicotine. Little known fact. Do you know that?
No, I had no idea. So that's actually crazy. Is it just in significantly smaller quantities, or
definitely significantly smaller quantities? But that's kind of what got me thinking, okay, like if someone's actually trying to microdose nicotine, the best way to do it is to just eat your fucking nightshade vegetables. Just literally just eat your vegetables. and those benefits that the neuroprotective benefits that you see from nicotine, you get those same benefits, studies are showing, by eating your nightshade vegetables. The nicotine, like, you don't need that much nicotine to get those benefits. So the benefits that you get for like preventing Alzheimer's and stuff, you're literally going to get those benefits and more by just eating the right vegetables, which is crazy to me. Like, why do we not promote more of that? And so then you start looking at the other reasons that people consume nicotine, and you're like, okay, well, what about a lot of people use it because it suppresses your appetite? Well, then you're like, okay, if you really want to microdose nicotine, eat your nightshade vegetables. They're going to have a lot of fiber, which is going to make you feel full and definitely suppress your appetite a lot more effectively than something that you could become dependent on, right?
I mean, is the quantity still enough in these other nightshade vegetables to give you any benefits? Because the corollary I'm drawing here is the fact that like apple cores and apple seeds technically have trace amounts of cyanide in them.
Right.
And hypothetically speaking, if you ate enough apple cores and apple seeds, which most people don't do, but I know people who do, weird, but it happens. But like, you would have to eat an ungodly amount of those to, I think, even get remotely close to having enough like high enough cyanide levels to actually cause any risk to your health or your life.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that's like what the research that I read shows is that, first of all, like in terms of comparing the amount, like how many vegetables would you have to, or how many nightshade vegetables would you have to consume to like equal one cigarette, right? It's about 10 kilograms. You'd have to consume like 10 kilograms of like potatoes, for example, in order to get the same amount of nicotine as one cigarette. But that's the part that really got me, was that the studies about neuroprotectiveness, the neuroprotective properties of nicotine, show that you only need the amount of nicotine found in like regularly consuming nightshade vegetables, not 10 kilograms of it, but like in a regular meal, to get those neuroprotective properties. You don't need like an entire cigarette's worth of nicotine to get those benefits. So I think that's where people kind of overlook that part, if they're even aware of it. Honestly, a lot of this was like brand new to me when I was looking into it. I had no idea that a lot of those vegetables even contain nicotine, frankly, or that nicotine was used as a neuroprotective agent in a lot of cases. But it was, I don't know, it's pretty interesting stuff. And so then, kind of in my research diving into nicotine, obviously, like, I encountered a lot of things around nicotine addiction, and I kind of just wanted to address that really quick, because I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching this right now consume nicotine regularly, which I get it. You know, we've all been there. Hopefully, if you haven't been there, please don't start.
Nah, so pointless.
Yeah. but apparently nicotine, the substance itself, is not actually that crazy of a substance in terms of physical addiction. It has a pretty short half-life. So apparently 15% of the nicotine in your body's gone 2 hours after you consume it. So with a half-life of 2 hours, like it means that it takes like 3 to 5 days after you stop consuming nicotine for it to actually like leave your body. So like it really just takes like, let's say 5 days for you to not become physically dependent on it anymore. And there's a million scenarios I could think of where you would be for 5 days where you wouldn't even have access to nicotine. So it seems like a lot of people are struggling to quit nicotine, not because of the physical addiction per se. Some of them definitely so, because like some people end up consuming a lot of it, but it's because of like a lot of the social aspects of it, and then also just the mental aspects. And so apparently some of the most effective ways to quit nicotine is just to frankly just educate yourself on what it actually is doing, and especially smoking and vaping and stuff like that. And there's like plenty of books and resources out there that you can look up that kind of just break down what's actually going on. And just that perspective shift, research shows, has been a lot more effective in helping people quit than nicotine replacement therapy or like those patches and stuff like that, where they try to just like get you off the physical addiction. I'm sure that's still necessary for some people, but damn, dude, like when people say it's all in your head, like I don't want to say it's all in your head because it's not, but like I've heard numbers thrown around like it's 80% in your head. Like,
Yeah. No, dude, I totally believe it.
Hey hippies, we hope you're enjoying the show so far. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and are having a good time, you need to come over to YouTube and subscribe to the Modern Day Hippie YouTube channel. We publish exclusive video content, and I promise you the experience is richer and more interesting. So if you're getting any value at all, stop what you're doing, open up the YouTube app, and subscribe at Modern Day Hippie. If you're watching this on YouTube and aren't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Go press subscribe. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show.
I've seen how much it comes down to the other habits in our lives that we link the nicotine to. So I know for me, like when I first tried vaping when I was in college, I kind of associated it with studying. Like I would borrow my big brother's vape for like an all night study sesh. And it's actually funny. The first time I ever borrowed his Juul, this was back in the days when everyone had Juuls.
oh god, Jules, man, those were
He had a
so
mango. Yeah, he had a mango Juul pod, and I was like, "Hey, can I borrow it? I have an all-nighter to pull." And I hadn't really vaped that much by that point, but I knew the things about like, oh, it would help me keep me awake. It would help my mental sharpness, whatever, like bullshit. And at some point, like while I was studying, I got so locked in, I was just chiefing it absentmindedly.
bad.
And I like look up for a sec and I realize how fucking nauseous I feel. Like I was just ripping it nonstop, and my tolerance to nicotine was so low at the time that I literally had to take a 30-minute break from working. I'd also bought myself a late dinner and was just kind of munching on it while I was studying for this all-nighter, and I couldn't eat that. And I just felt awful, dude. Like I literally told myself, I'm like, I'm never doing this again.
Dude, it literally does that. I've been there, like for real. I've
Yeah.
been in that exact situation, especially with Juuls, and that's like the worst thing about Juuls, man. They're just
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And then lo and behold, I did definitely hit nicotine again after that. It very much became a social thing, like you mentioned. And then back when I was drinking, I really associated the act of drinking with vaping. It was like, I have a beer or a beverage in my hand. I want to have a vape that I'm hitting around that. And then even like I didn't buy vapes for so long, but I had a lot of friends who had vapes, and it's like if there's one around, I would definitely crave it. And that's what I've learned about myself even today, where I've purchased honestly like very few vapes in my life. And I've realized about myself that if there's not a vape around, if I don't see one, if it's not in my vicinity, I don't even think about it. Like it's literally out of sight, out of mind. But if there's one around, I really crave it. And even though I don't drink anymore, I do associate the feeling of being fucked up, or when I'm on a bender night, I'm like, I want something that I can smoke and just kind of have that. The oral fixation is a big aspect of it.
yeah, it's a
And
habit at that point.
yeah, exactly. Like just having something to smoke is really nice. I will say on the oral fixation piece, there's this company that I found out about a couple months ago that's essentially trying to solve for the oral fixation aspect. So the company is called Fume. It's written FUM, and they basically create a fake vape where it's like there's no vapor, there's no nothing. It's basically just like a hollow straw that you suck suck air in through, and inside there's a little like flavor packet, but literally this flavor packet is just like, think of like a hard fragrance, like a hard perfume kind of. And you just inhale your air through that. So it gives it a flavor. There's no smoke and you blow it out. And it's really funny. I carry it around and I'll like show it to people sometimes. And they're like, oh, what is this? And they're either like, oh, this is really stupid. It doesn't do anything for me. Or they like really get it. They remark that it's a good idea, but it still doesn't quite hit the same because, you know, you're kind of missing something. Exactly. And it's funny. Sometimes we'll be fucked up with friends and I'll be like, hey, you want a breath of fresh air? And I'll hand them the fume. And it's like, dude, did you ever use those cereal straws growing up? Where it's
like the milk straws.
Inside, yeah, exactly. And it like flavors your milk as you drink it. It's the exact same concept, but basically in the shape of a vape and with air instead of milk.
Dude, I'm kind of mad at that company right now. I'm not gonna lie. Because I tried to order 2 of them.
Oh, dead ass.
And an order went through and everything, and then they canceled my order on their end, and I was like, what the heck? So then I ordered it again, and then they canceled my order again, and so then I emailed them and I was like, yo, what's up? Like, why you keep canceling my order? And they're like, oh yeah, like we can't tell you why we canceled it. It's because of some fraud thing. And I'm like, that's such bullshit, dude.
Wait, what?
Like, I know there's obviously no fraud going on here, and like all the information I gave was super legit. So I don't know, man. Hopefully they can make things right, but I'm not hopeful at this point.
Yeah, dude. Also, what they charge for that thing is honestly kind of a racket, in my opinion. Like, I only have one because I got it for free from like an event that I was DJing. But I don't know,
dude. Yeah, that shit was like $300 for like the 2 and like the whatever packs. I'm like, damn, dude. Like, part of me is honestly glad it didn't even go through because I don't even use nicotine. Like, I was just kind of trying to try it just to try it.
Yeah.
But anyways,
no, yeah, and I've experienced with some of the like nicotine-free vapes, you know, the B12 ones or whatever. Those are fine. They're a little bit better than the fume, but also still don't quite hit the same. And I feel like the nicotine-free vapes are kind of stuck in the past, back in the times when we had vapes that were 500 puffs, maybe 1,000 puffs. And I ordered a couple of them off Instagram and I tried them and they were fine, but I felt like they ran out so quickly. And now we're in the era of vapes that feel like they never fucking die.
Dude, don't even get me started on vapes. Some of my friends, they got these new vapes from like the local smoke shop. Like, this isn't anything special or anything like that. $25 for a vape with a screen on it.
Is it a geek
that you
bar?
Can upload your own photos to?
Oh my god!
And it has its own GPS tracker built into it with an app that you connect to with your phone, so you can never lose your vape. I'm like, bro, $25, and it's a dispo. Like,
dude,
I'm like, they're just like.
That's insane. And that just feels so wasteful to me. I mean, we are literally coming up to a point where we are in a shortage of just like raw materials for semiconductors, for computer parts. And how many of those fucking raw materials are going into making these disposable vapes with literal screens? And dude, the fact that it has a GPS tracker and images you can upload is crazy. I thought you were referring to a geek bar, which most people I know who vape now, they've been on the geek bar grind, which they have this really nice screen, which shows you the battery percentage and how much like vape juice is left percentage wise. So it's just like a really nice disposable with like a screen on it. But damn, okay, your homies are on.
Dude, that's not even the craziest one I saw though. Oh, that's God. The thing. They like, for a little bit more money, you can get one where you can literally play Angry Birds, or like, and there's another one where it literally has Game Boy controls on it, like up, down, left, right, A, B, or whatever. I don't know if they use the same letters, but you can literally play games on your vape, dude. So like one of my boys, he works in the warehouse, and like he sneaks his vape in, and that's like, since they can't bring their phones in, like they all just like play on the vape.
Wait, that's so funny, dude. At this rate, the disposable vapes are literally just gonna become smartphones. It's straight up gonna be like an iPhone 4, like on the outside of it.
Bro, smartphones are addictive enough. Like, you don't need to add chemicals to them.
You're really gonna pair that? Oh man.
You're at the club and the music is thumping, but you've got nothing left in the tank. So what do? Sniff some cacao. Yup, you heard that right. Sniff some cacao. It's the hottest new trend in the club and party scene. One bum-sized sniff of raw chocolatey powder contains the caffeine equivalent to a half cup of coffee, and boom, it hits instantly. And the best part is you can now sniff cacao anytime, anywhere. Right out in the open, in front of the DJ booth or the stage, even at the VIP table with your friends. Now, how does that happen without drawing unwanted attention? Snogo's spring-loaded bump straws make it possible. These classy, triple mirror polished bump straws are the safest, most discreet way to enjoy sniffing cacao. In fact, you've most likely already seen people wearing Snogo's bump straws as pendants around their necks without even knowing it. Discover why sniffing cacao using Snogo bump straws is being called the biggest revolution in partying since the invention of rock and roll. Jump on over to snogostraws.com to learn more. That's SNOGOSTRAWS.com and use discount code MDH15 at checkout for 15% off your entire order.
But yeah, one other thing I want to touch on is with those short-term benefits we mentioned from nicotine, even just like what your story kind of just made me think about it, like when you're how you're using it to study. I think a big problem is that just like with any other drug, you're always going to be needing more of it in order to get that same benefit. And that's just so unsustainable on so many levels, like whether it be financially, health-wise, or whatever. And like it's never going to be the same, right? As like if you are not using it frequently or whatever. So like even if you do want to get some kind of short-term benefit from like hitting a vape or something, like keep that just like what we preach with all the other drugs, like keep it special, only use it when you need it. But in this case, don't even use it if you don't need it. And it's unlikely that you actually do need it since the benefit is kind of marginal, to be honest. Because like you don't even want to risk getting addicted to something like that.
Yeah. I'm curious what you think of my current interaction with vapes, Reggie. So literally during the weekdays, don't hit it at all. It lives in the back of some cupboard in my bathroom. I don't think about it often. Even if I do, I don't hit it. And then if I know it's a bender weekend, I will bring it out with me.
I feel like, I mean, I'm not one to judge, man. Like, I feel like that's fine.
Judge away,
and
dude.
it's not like, I mean, like, how long will one vape last you, you know?
Oh, so long. So long. Like
Yeah,
months.
so it's like-
literally months.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know what you mean because I've been there. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't see a huge problem with that. Like, the other drugs that we do on the same frequency are probably more harmful. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No, dude.
especially when you think of nose drugs and shit. So it's like, what's
Exactly.
adding a vape to that? Unless you're like literally doing it every day and stuff, which is the problem with it. A lot of people are doing it every day.
Yeah, it really is all relative. And back to your first point on the carcinogenic aspects or the aspects of vaping that can lead to like cancer developments in the human body. Like, I wonder how that compares to the carcinogenic effects of alcohol, which literally is verified by the World Health Organization and I don't know, the FDA or the equivalent in the US, that like literally like we know for a fact this substance causes cancer at relatively high rates. And I don't know where that sits on the grand scheme of things, but like I'm curious if vaping is significantly lower or about the same.
Well, vaping,
higher.
I mean, vaping is higher for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with smoking. Nicotine itself, I'm sure is lower from what I've read.
Fair.
But I mean, on that same subject, dude, you know, in terms of cancer causing things that are acceptable in society, I mean, like processed meat, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of processed foods, but especially processed meats. I mean, processed red meat is literally a class 1 carcinogen by the World Health Organization.
Damn.
And like nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean? Like, like they serve that shit literally in kids' school lunches, like every single day. And it's super normalized. So, but even, you know, even with like the processed foods and stuff like that, I think if you're trying to like get off of them, I think it's a very similar process to getting off of nicotine and stuff. It's just like you need to just educate yourself. The more you know, the more you're going to look at it differently. Like I personally stopped eating most processed foods like a few months ago at this point. And what really got me to do it was just like learning, literally learning about what it actually does to your body, like understanding the actual effects, like why it is what it is, how the nutrients work, etc., talking to doctors and stuff like that. And it made the decision for me to like, if I go to my kitchen, like to pick up something processed or pick up something not processed, it made it a super fucking easy decision. Like I don't even think twice now. It's like, I'm going to go for the non-processed. I know I'm going to feel better like long-term and short-term. And, you know, at some point, like your tastes will change to accommodate that. But yeah, man, it's, I don't know. We can get into a whole like rant about like why we have all this fucked up shit in our society that's so prevalent and like people consume it every day and it's literally killing people, whether it be like
money, dude. It's capitalism.
Yeah, it's all capitalism. I mean, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not get too esoteric here. I wanted to ask in the articles that you read about where they mentioned microdosing nicotine. Did they mention a recommended intake method that was maybe safer to take the nicotine without the drawbacks of the vaping or the smoking? Is it mostly through patches? Is it through gum? Like what are they recommending here? I guess I
Yeah,
know you mentioned the like vegetables, but aside from that.
no, that was my recommendation.
No, okay.
Based on my research.
Some secret intel.
Yeah, they had some kind of intake that like was not smoking or vaping, honestly, and it wasn't the like Zens either. I'm not really that familiar. I know patches was one of the things that they talked about
Okay.
for microdosing it. A lot of the things you see in nicotine replacement therapy, it was like more along those lines where pretty much you can get the nicotine without like the negative ways of ingesting it. But
Okay, I see.
I mean, I don't know, man. It just microdosing itself, like in general, like is not like super proven, I think.
No.
Whether it be for psychedelics or for nicotine or whatever it is, like, so it's like if you don't already have that substance that you're consuming, like, why are you going to keep consuming it like that? I don't know.
Yeah, man, agreed. And I'm curious to see how people's habits around nicotine develop, because I think we're learning more about how harmful it is. And just like you said, the more knowledge people have about how unhealthy something is, I think the better the odds, like the more leverage they have to logic to themselves why they shouldn't do something. I mean, it reminds me of, this was years ago, but there was that like food documentary. I think it was Fast Food Nation.
Oh, the McDonald's one?
Yeah, that really scared a lot of people into being like, oh shit, like these chicken nuggets I'm eating are actually like awful. Like you can barely call these real meat.
Oh yeah.
And we've seen examples of this throughout history. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but I think when we were in high school, one of our required reading books was The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. Yeah, and that book was literally this guy writing this. So he was basically an investigative journalist who wanted to write a piece on the meat packing plants in Chicago in like the early 20th century and just how horrible the conditions were. Like literally people who were working the plants would die in the machinery and the meat would still be served. Like,
yeah, that's disgusting.
Gnarly shit like that.
Did some shit with that book.
No, exactly. Yeah. And so he wrote this novel that was like, he realized that if he just wrote an article about it, people wouldn't pay attention. So he wrote this like pretty well-known like American classic of a novel about this fictional family and their struggles with meatpacking to just bring to light how harrowing the industry was. And him writing that book is literally what caused the federal government of the US to start the FDA and to start regulating the food industry, starting with meat. Like, yeah.
Dude, we live in a time now where we have the internet too, like, and videos, and like you can add like visuals and like literally taking videos of these things. Like,
dude, speaking of videos and vapes, have you seen that video that was going around? I don't know, on like TikTok or some short form video of like this little Asian boy, how they test the vapes before they put like the plastic caps on them. Oh my God, I need to find this and send it to you. But basically it's this big production line with vapes going across it. And they're it's like 20 deep and they're going by pretty quickly. And there's this boy who's like no older than like probably like 12 or 13, who's literally just like going down the line, hitting one rip of every single vape to make sure it works before the machine puts, like the little like plastic, like, like cap, like into the knob. Exactly. And I don't know if it's real, but like it was definitely in a factory. Like you could see that. And like, I would totally believe that shit is happening. And dude, how awful is that? It's literally like children. Like,
dude, after seeing all the shit with like Shein and Temu and shit, like I believe that.
Oh God. Yeah. No, dude, I've told a few people about this, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is actually probably happening. And that is awful. So
dude, yeah.
Yeah, the more you know, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, knowledge is power. And I really do think that like people's behaviors are going to change the more this knowledge like becomes mainstream, really. And I think the only reason that their behaviors haven't changed at this point, like more than they already have, because they're, props to the new generations and everything. They do smoke a lot less cigarettes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And that's like all because of like the knowledge campaigns, But I think the only reason it hasn't been like an even greater effect, whether it be like when you're talking about like vaping or whatever, or you're talking about like eating junk food, is because of the industries who are suppressing all of the research and like putting out a lot of bullshit research to just kind of mask the truth, But it's just a matter of time before even that stuff gets kind of exposed. So
agreed, man. Looking forward to it. Yeah. But let us know in the YouTube comments what y'all's experience with vaping has been, whether you're still vaping a lot, you never tried it, you're trying to quit. I know for me, I've been doing it less trying to honestly continue weaning myself off of it. Hopefully eventually get off of it, but that's like it's a future me problem. So we'll see. Like it's not at a point where it's affecting me in an obviously negative way. And like I'm super fit. I run a shit ton. And yeah, maybe my lungs aren't operating at 100%, but I feel like they're operating at like 98% at least. And the enjoyment I get out of vaping is it's still pretty nice. And the other thing is, even when I don't bring my vape, friends I hang out with have them. They let me hit them liberally, and I'm like, nah, okay, it is.
Yeah, I don't think like your use case is really the big issue, to be honest. Like just like with any of the other drugs, right? Like you do shrooms or ketamine or something, like every once in a while on the weekends, like, you know, we're not saying there's anything super wrong with that. Like it's really the daily use, like the excessive use, that will lead to a lot of the negative stuff. And the scary thing with nicotine is that like it'll kill you, like, you know, whether you're vaping or smoking, whatever, it'll kill you, but it'll kill you really fucking slowly. Like,
other things will probably kill you first.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, cool. Thank you for the research. This was a great topic, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. That's today's pod.
You've been listening to Modern Day Hippie. As you exit the portal, we have just one small ask of you. If you learned something new today, had a laugh, or resurfaced a drug story of your own, we want to hear about it. Drop us a comment on YouTube and show us some love on your favorite podcasting platforms. Internet algorithms really dog on us because of the topics that we discuss, so your support goes even further here than you might think. We'll catch you next week.